Hey guys, today we're going to do a quick tutorial on dividing with two-digit divisors. So in this problem, 2,976 divided by 24, 24 is my divisor. So we're going to look at two different strategies on how to find the quotient. We are going to look at the partial quotients method and the standard algorithm. Let's start with the partial quotients. No matter what strategy I'm using, I think it's very helpful to list your multiples. Down here, I have the multiples of 24. If you don't know the multiples of 24, then you can just use your scratch paper and you can figure it out. You can add 24 and add 24 till you have a list, or I can take the time to do 24 times 1, 24 times 2, 24 times 3. But let's look at the first digit here. There's a 2. That's too small to be dividing by 24, so I'm going to look at 29 to start with, okay? Now, what's closest to 29? 24 is the closest multiple, and 24 is the first multiple. So notice how I put a 1 to the side. So see how I have two blank spaces right here? I'm going to fill in those blank spaces with zeros. I put 2 zeros here, so I'm going to put 2 zeros here because I know that 24 times 100 is 2,400. Your next step is to subtract. 6 minus 0 is 6. 7 minus 0 is 7. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And then 2 minus 2 is 0, but I'm just going to leave that blank. Now I'm going to look at 24 into 5. Since 5 is smaller than 24, let's just go ahead and look at these first two digits. I have 57. So I'm going to see what's closest to 57 without being bigger than 57, and that is 48. 48 is the second multiple of 24. So I'm going to put a 2 right here. There's an empty space here, so I'm going to fill that in with a 0, which means I'm going to fill this in with a 0 too. And subtract. That's 6. I have to do a little regrouping here because you can't take 8 away from 7. So let me regroup. When I do, that's 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. So now I have 96. Well, if I look at my multiples of 24, 96 is a multiple. 96 is the fourth multiple. I subtract and I get 0. I've already subtracted out all of my numbers. Remember, division is repeated subtraction. So now I'll just have to find the sum of my partial quotients, which gives me 124. That is my quotient. Remember, as long as you're subtracting multiples of 24 until you get to 0, then you're good, or until you get to a number smaller than 24. But that's with remainders. In this problem, there is no remainder. Let's take a look at the standard algorithm. You can remember the fun little phrase, does McDonald's sell burgers? And that's just a fun way to remember the steps. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Just like in the partial quotients method, I'm still going to look at these first two digits and see which multiple of 24 is closest. 24 is the closest multiple, and it's the first multiple. So I'm going to put a 1 on the top. Notice how that's different from partial quotients and putting it on the side. Next, I subtract. 29 minus 24 is 5. Because now look at these steps. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. 1 times 24 is 24, right? That was my multiply step. Subtract. What's right after subtract? Bring down. We're only going to bring down one digit at a time. So now I have 57. So now I'm at the end of my list. So I'm just going to start back at divide. Which of these is closest to 57 without being bigger than 57? 48. And 48 is the second multiple of 24. So I'm going to put a 2 right here because you can make two groups of 24 into 57 because 2 times 24 is 48. That's my divide and multiply step. I subtract and I get 9. As soon as you subtract, you bring down. So I'm going to bring down this next number and I have 96. What's closest to 96? 96 is closest to 96 and it's the fourth multiple. I subtract. After subtract, I bring down. Well, there's nothing left to bring down, and I got a 0. That means my quotient is just 124. Remember, you can always check your work with multiplication, and you can multiply 124 times 24. And if you get this number right here, if you get your dividend, then you know you're good.